Well, hello everybody. I hope I find you well today. Excited to be with you for week number 60 of our weekly financial roundtable, where we remember money is the most important thing in life, but it is like oxygen on a gotta have it scale. So I'm your host, your curator of this session. Obviously, I am from Qnity. We're here to not only help you earn more money, but do what you love and have a great quality of life and make what's confusing, complicated, and overwhelming, and to help you create a clear path to prosperity with a simple, visual, and actionable approach. Last week's guest in last week's session, which I love all these sessions, but this one had a special place in my heart because we talked about a very different currency than money, but obviously it relates to money, and that's the currency of time. So thanks to Shara from Gervais of Oregon. And, you know, at Qnity, we talk about prosperity being managing your ATM, our three currencies in life: attention, time, and money. And money is the currency that the focus is, that these roundtables are focused on, but you cannot ignore the currency of time. And many of us are making choices that maximize our return of time, and we're willing to give up money for more time. And so it was a great session with Shara on how she takes 8 weeks off per year and limits the number of hours she works during the week. I love this quote. Don't say you don't have enough time. You have exactly the same number of hours per day that were given to Helen Keller, Michelangelo, Mother Teresa, and Albert Einstein. So this week's guest, who also will be a roundtable conversation starter at 2 to 10, is my good friend, James Griffith, who, along with his wife, Christine, owns the James Griffith Salons down in Florida, 3 locations. I got a great share today. We hope that you have some light bulb moments today, and light bulb moments are something that make the world go round. You've got your 9 grid here to help you. The 9 grid, there's our visual thinking tool. It's a great place to capture notes and to find your own light bulb moments. 2 to 10 is coming up starting Sunday night, and a lot of great things. And if you are not part of 2 to 10, let's not go the FOMO route. We will be sharing some things that came out of 2 to 10 in the week after, 2 weeks after the conference. Relentless recruiting is something that is for sure going to be a focus at 2 to 10 this year. Back to the roundtables. Past recordings are on our portal as well as YouTube. Check them out. We do have a school roundtable this week, as we do most every week, and that's noon Central Time. Aaron and I are going to go through something called preneurship today. So we love building the brain trust. We had so many great contributors. So thanks to all of you for contributing. We've had so many of you. We love the comments. Please be very active in the chat today. It really helps fuel the conversation and makes it feel more like a roundtable if you're weighing in. So now I've got a couple things to set the stage for today. And the conversation that we're going to have with James today started August 23rd, and I'll share with you the call. And some of the things we talked about really was human capital related. And the money course is where we have actually identified some things that are challenges when students enter the workforce. So there's a question for you guys. So pop question. What percentage of professionals actually understand how to read their paycheck? So if we could get a little chat going, just shoot a number in there. What do you think? What percent of professionals? And let me refine the question a little bit. What percentage of professionals in the beauty industry, based upon your experience and your visibility, actually understand how to read their paycheck? So let's get some comments in there. Let's see what people say. And so there's a couple things in the money curriculum that we're going to unpack today. Preneurship is going to come a little bit later. We're going to understand a little bit of understanding your paycheck, and then also how, as an employee-based salon, you can really compete and make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. So one of the things we are realizing, there's a great study by Talent Biz and Talent Match, excuse me, Stephanie Fox. And one of the reasons people say they're leaving employment-based salons is that the opportunity to make more money. But I asked the question, but do they really understand their paycheck or how they earn? Because my experience is there's a big gap here. So they're leaving to make more money, but don't understand what their earnings are. That's a gap that maybe we can fill here. Other things that relate with that is we unpack this in several of our educational videos for the students. What is gross pay? Just really break it down step by step. Use an example of a paycheck. What gross pay, how it fits with net pay, what are withholdings, what's a pay stub, and make it really, really visual. So anyway, heads up on that. Let me see what the comments are here in terms of understanding paycheck. Let's see what we say here. 10%, 10%, 15%, 25%, 15%. The highest is 25%. Wow. Okay. Does anybody else think this might be a little bit of an issue or a little bit of a gap? Most of my employees never even look at them. 10%, 10. I got to be honest. When I thought you guys were going to put comments in here, I'm trying to think what I would have put. I guess I probably would have put 10% too. James, let's have you come off the. Come off mute here. How are you today?
Fine, Tom. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Where you been this morning? Why don't you tell the group what you've been up to today?
This morning at 8:30, I was a guest at a local beauty school, recruiting. Like all of us, were like really recruiting hard, and I thought it was great. Just to go and get in front of some students. It was a good start to the day.
It's a damn good start to the day. And so
yeah.
Thanks for joining me today. So you and I, anyway, by the way, you have created a wonderful business. So 3 locations down in the Sarasota, Venice area of Florida. Beautiful,
Yep.
Great salons. You've been in business how many years?
34, I think, this year.
3 locations, right?
3 locations. Yep. Boca Grande, Venice, and Sarasota.
About how many people?
85.
Okay. All right.
Hiring 5 more this week, hopefully.
5 more this week.
Apprentices.
Okay. I'm curious. That's new information for me this morning. I'm curious to unpack that one a little bit later. That's good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So you've been a great friend too, and a member of 2 to 10. I remember when I met you and Christine, it was in LA. It was like, oh my gosh, it must have been 8 years ago. And so not only do we have a working relationship, but we have a friendship, and I appreciate that. And you're always such a giver. And you called me on August 23rd. Panic was the wrong word. It was a combination. How can I describe your mood? I guess it was a little bit of just being baffled, frustrated, discouraged. What adjectives would you?
I mean, concern for the industry is kind of, we talk, this is the 80th week since Tom Hanks in the NBA started our COVID awareness. And, I called you just about, we were talking about plan for profits and what's going on. And then I said, listen, Tom, there's a big thing going on, not just with me, because I talk to a lot of folks too, with Intercoiffure and different groups of, especially down here in Florida, a tsunami wave of independent contracting. And I just said, hey, what?
Yeah. And that's not new, but it was new to you, right?
Yeah. I thought it was something I didn't have to worry about. I mean, our culture, which I still think is super strong. And then, about a year ago, I did have to be concerned about it because it hit me a little bit with, 4 people who kind of blindsided me because I cut hair 3 or 4 days a week in the salons. I have lunch with people and, I just didn't think that was going to happen to us. And it did. Yeah. And talking to others, I called you and said, hey, I had some observations. And the one I said, about eliminating the grind, what's going on here? What is the attraction? And it got me going with talking with some other business accountant people and just kind of digging deep here and following some breadcrumbs back to what happened. And it prompted me to take the lead and have difficult conversations with my staff who are young, ambitious, know how to navigate Instagram and to sit down and talk to them. And it was wonderful.
So you had some conversations with your team,
Yeah, individually.
and how did you identify who to have the conversations with?
Well, young, ambitious, their Instagram, you can see what's going on. What's going on with, Instagram. When I first called you, I said, I had these great ideas and you wanted me to talk. And I'm like, wait, I haven't talked to anybody. This might not work. I could be dead wrong.
We
So
gave you a month. Okay.
yeah, so I had 3 difficult conversations, but necessary and very, very informative. Young people in their 20s, they know Instagram. Because I notice friends in the business, I watch things, I notice people's Instagram change. Like, wait a second, she's never been active. Now she's active. Now she not tagging the salon, like something's up. And I talked to you and something was up. So I just want to have this conversation, like what's going on, and really outline the money part, and what the grind is and what we can do for you, and really talk about money. And it was informative to me to hear how some of my young staff view Instagram. Like they want to use it to get the people they want, and they don't really want to be on the grind. Like, and I used do what you love, make more money, and have a life, which is what drew me to your program. And they really want to have a life. And I think if you can deliver to them everything they want in your salon, I think they're happy to stay.
So when you talk about the grind, I know what you mean by that, but why don't you explain to your peers what you mean by the grind?
Well, I'm a hairdresser first. Like the grind is dealing with customers, customer complaints, booking, money, all the stuff that, follow up with things, call back, confirming, new client follow-ups, Instagram posting, to me, that's the grind. So for me, to our team, to have the conversation, listen, let's just do hair. We'll take the grind away, but you got to take it away, which to me is, you have to offer great training, and access to training, great support, and new clients. Our first 8 months, we had 2,000 new clients. Mm-hmm. So if you can offer all that and take the grind away, but you got to do it. They can't. Go ahead.
So I think your point about the grind is, why would someone want to leave? And because you do a lot of the grind, you go off on your own. It's more of a grind. I mean, that's kind of your key point there, right?
It seems to me, and everybody I talk to, but then the end of the conversation is, but people are still doing it. Why?
Yeah.
So I started talking with one of your accountant members, who's my accountant too. We did some numbers, and maybe they can make a little more money. We put in some incentive bonuses, which I was sharing with you. And when I showed them that you can make, $650 to $700 for every 1,000 you bring in the door, I mean, that's pretty eye-opening. And then sharing, the salons is for all the stuff we do. I mean, if $75 on 1,000.
Yeah, that is that one kind of hit me over the head. I have seen so many different comparisons of like compensation, like owner, and perception of staff, what the owner makes, what the owner actually makes. But I really like how you break this down. I'm going to kind of paint a visual picture for our audience here today.
Okay.
So basically, I think what you're saying, and I'm going to go from left to right. I don't know how it shows up on the screen. So anyway, I'm going to do it on my left. Anyway, basically $1,000 of services come in. Salon makes $75 with
That's 7.5%, which is good.
Here's the side by side. And by the way, a little tip and a little cue for all of you out there in listener land. We're creating some amazing graphics around this. Woo-hoo, wait till you see it. But from a staff person, 1,000 comes in, and 700, so 75 to 700. Assume a 50% commission or 50% commit,
right?
45% commission plus another 5% for retail
and bonuses,
and then tips.
Yeah.
So you got 75 and you got 700. That's a bit of a
50.
gap there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a conversation with stylists without including tips. Because we run tips all through our front desk. We know exactly what people make. That doesn't even count whatever gifts, Chris. I mean, the truth is, if you're a busy hairdresser, you can do really well and not have a grind and work. These people I talk to, they want to work 30 hours a week, and they're making easy 6 figures, with an apprentice, which they can't have on your own. You can't hire an apprentice because it's cost prohibitive. So when we really map out, and they want to go home. They have families.
Yeah.
You know, having the life is like the biggest part of this. I mean, money, of course, but I mean,
So tell
flexibility
me,
and schedule.
yeah, tell us about the meetings then.
Well, I mean, I've got, my notes, they look like a Chipotle bag. I just started talking about, tell me what's going on. I was honest about the things that I see. I used, what really prompted me, which gave me a great segue, and which I'd recommend to the owners, is we've always done entrepreneur, intrapreneur, which I use that. And then you threw a new one at me, solopreneur, which was like, to me, like gave me the opening for me to start with them. Listen, I'm working with Qnity. I got some new stuff about solopreneurs, and just talk about, listen, we know what intrapreneur is. What is the interest in the solopreneur? Because listen, we talk to owners, but they all talk to their friends that are in the, I mean, they talk like we talk. And so I just had a conversation about how much you're making, what's important to you, freedom of schedule. I mean, we've done this for a while, but now, I mean, I have a note here. I'm like, I don't mess with people. I don't like to be messed with. I mean, let's make your schedule. If you've been with us for a certain amount of time and you're productive, you tell me when you want to work. You can have a key.
Yeah, and let's back up a little bit. I want to see the setup for the conversation. So, how did you happen to invite someone? Well, I mean, so 3 people. You said blah 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 to
top producers. Been with me 10 years. $3,000 to $5,000 a week producer. 29 years old. We have a marketing director, so we kind of see what people are doing on Instagram. Seeing who's like has an active Instagram. They meet the criteria that maybe they could manage this on their own if they really think about it. So I just want to have the conversation, about what do you think?
How did you invite it? It's like, okay, how did you invite them to the conversation?
Can I set up a meeting with you? Can I meet you on my business day and let's sit down in the office? We just sat down at the table. I work with them too, so we started a conversation.
So I want to meet with you about what? Did you tell me?
I gave him agenda, just some things. I told just some business things, topics.
Okay.
And I had,
so you said, I want to meet with you. So you did your own internal criteria.
Yeah.
You said, I want to meet with you. And then you said, I want to meet with you about what? And
I said nothing bad, just to talk about some business planning for what's ahead.
Okay. So
which is the truth.
Okay. So you didn't really tip your hand in terms of what you wanted to talk about.
Not really. Just had
okay.
I just didn't want to set. I just want to have a conversation. Like,
okay.
Let's talk.
And so you had the conversation inside or outside the salon?
Inside. We have an office. We're fortunate to have an office next to our salon where we have offices.
30-minute conversation?
The first one was over an hour. They were both an hour, 90 minutes. Because we really went into depth. It opened the door to like, okay, what's next for you here?
Yeah.
So it was a great door opener. And I felt so good because I worked with them. Like, we hired them. They were my apprentice. Like, I have lunch with them. You know what I mean? And I feel like I know them, but now I learned more in this hour of staff I thought I really knew. Now I really know them.
And your talking points then, I mean, what were your talking points? And give me an idea of how much you talked and how much you listened. 80% listened, 20%.
Probably 70-30, because I had a lot of points to make. I was sure to, listen when they were talking.
Okay.
But yeah, I just learned really what's important. And I found that they don't want to grind. They don't want to be, we talked a little bit about the mental health of Instagram. I mean, if you Google, Instagram is not a nice place. It can really wear people out.
So in other words, you have to, if you go off on your own or being solo, they'd have to get even more involved in Instagram than they already are, and they didn't want to.
They see the life. I'm like, did you know anyone who's a real estate agent? Have you ever gone to dinner with a real estate agent?
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here.
Okay.
As being a former salon owner, and I think many people can relate with this, that, and I'm curious to see in the chat, how many people feel like they've had very direct conversation with members of their team and really tried to feel them out, and team member assured them that they ain't going nowhere.
Right.
And then within 6 months, they're gone. So in the chat, I'd like to say, maybe I was the only one that ever happened to. So
this could happen to me. I think I told you, I said, Tom, They could be. I don't think so, because I'm an audit. I don't lie. So, when I don't lie, I don't think people do. I feel really good about the conference. I mean, I would be stunned, because
Yeah.
I think I know them and I know their parents. Uh, yeah, I would. That has happened, and I'm saying that's not going to happen. But I feel really good after these conversations, and it's opened the door, even like little daily chats, little things.
So I can see that, when we talked on August 23rd, you're like, whoa, let me have my conversations first. And I
Yes.
think what you're doing is you jumped in, you had your talking points, you set up the meeting, and it
Yeah.
unfolded organically. But now that have you done 3 or 2 of these conversations?
I did 3. And I did a lot of work before the meetings. Trust me. I mean, I did a lot of like talking points and 9 grids. And I mean, I had myself outlined of what I, wanted to make my points. I did a lot of prep.
So I think you can save a lot of your peers a bunch of time here if
Yeah.
you say, because preparation is key. I mean, you want to enter
Yes.
that meeting very, very clear.
Yes.
So other tips to help people fast track if they want to have meetings with their staff like this?
I mean, identify who they think maybe, and you still might be surprised. There still might be someone right now that I don't know.
So
I'm going to,
identification would be one.
Identification for sure. Get yourself prepared. I spent Nick, who you've had as your guest here, was really instrumental, because I needed someone to help me with the numbers. Like, okay, what does it really cost to employ? I have ideas, so I went with an account. I had to have real facts, and we talked, and he was extremely helpful. Nick Sehor, Nick, helped us, and just exactly what the numbers, what are the real tax implications?
For
What
each an individual basis or more a general basis?
for, like, to be an independent contractor, like, what is
Okay.
your tax liability? What if you hire an assistant? What are you responsible for? I mean, what are the real expenses?
Okay. Yeah. And so you did that not necessarily for each individual, you did an overall study and you used that same conversation with all 3 people.
Yes, I use
Okay.
a similar yes, I use those
Did you have
taxes. And
did you have their earnings in front of you for these
yeah,
meetings too? Okay.
yep, I had their earnings, their hours, how much they make per hour. When you tell them, listen, you make $63 an hour to 7, that's what you make doing hair. Now, going to get color at the store at $63 an hour is an expensive road trip.
Okay. So was that number received like a shock effect by them, or when you said $65 an hour, what was their reaction to that?
It was kind of like, like, yeah, I was like, like, kind of never really
Eye-opening.
never really thought about it. So, I mean, if you want to, and I said, listen, you have to, checking people in, booking appointments, doing credit cards, going to get color at $63 an hour. I mean, that's an expensive labor pool, driving to get, just really the realities of it. And I think, talking to Nick, we were talking about telling them, listen, if you don't have a spouse, you will if you work independently, because now you're married to that chair. And if you have any hobbies, be prepared to give them up, because you won't have time. Not being like sarcastic, but this is real. Like,
What other numbers did you show them relating to each individual? You broke down their hourly rate. What else did you show them?
production, their commissions, what they can make, how much
Okay.
how much their time per hour was worth, was the real thing. And have a life. You give me 30 hours you want. The one girl she's amazing. They're all teachers. They're great. Works 32 and a half hours. She's gonna make $120,000.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean,
Hold
that's
on. All right. How many hours a week?
32.4 hours right now.
Is
Or
the 100?
34. She worked 34 hours average so far, and is going to 34 and a half hours, and she will make $118,427
Okay. Now, that's gross pay? Does that include
gross.
tips or not?
Everything. I
Okay.
always include tips, because that comes
Okay.
in a conversation.
So what was her gross pay pre-tips then?
Like
Approximate, doesn't have to be the
like
dollar.
$118,000 pre-tip, pre-tax.
Okay. How about pre-tip? 118,000 gross
So you
pay.
take 20% off of that, so like 100,000.
So 98,000 something.
Yeah, she averaged 2,000. Yeah, like $100,000 in service and $20,000 in tips.
Okay, so what you do is you use the actual earnings that you run in your own system,
Yeah,
you annualize it, and
yeah,
then you also do some math to estimate the tips, correct?
yes,
Okay, all right. So you're presenting current compensation.
correct,
What you're also doing is breaking it down by hour and correlating
correct,
activities
correct.
that would be non-producing activities like running around getting hair color and dealing with last minute cancellations and scheduling and being up at night.
Complaints.
Yeah, okay. So what else did you share in the meeting that you think would be a good practice for other owners to implement?
I mean, really having the conversation about them having their life and how important that is to us, which it really is.
Mhm.
You know, we want to take care, but when you say you're going to take care of their schedule, you better do it. Because if you're not confirming their appointments, if you're not making, they're, if you can't give them reason to say, I'm going to go do this myself, so
Mhm.
you can't just say this and then not, you have to deliver it like 100%,
Mhm.
or Federal Express 98%. Just really those are the things that they want. Take care of their book,
Mhm.
assign them. The higher up you get in our company, the higher up of our management team takes care of your guests. They earn that. So really take care of their guests. And something we started this week is own the first 5 minutes of your appointment and own the last 5 minutes for every guest. Really treat them super well coming in the salon, because you got to take care of them in the salon as well. But really managing their day for them so they can just leave and not have to worry about their book.
So, James, we talked about fact versus fiction and myth versus reality, whatever you
Yep.
want to refer to it.
Yep.
And you were suggesting that there's quite a bit of conversation going on out there where individuals are, you might use the word brainwashed, maybe not, but
Yep.
just there's different forums that really paint I would say, inaccurate picture of an employment-based salon
Yeah.
and compared to solopreneurship. Do you want to speak to that?
I think there is a myth. I mean, because I guess if someone decides they're going to go leave and be a solopreneur, they're not going to talk to the people who are still with us and say, this is the worst mistake I ever made in my life. They're just not going to do it because they're not going to shame them, not going to look bad themselves. But I do know that one of the people that left is still friends with one of my senior people. And she told me confidentially that this person told her, this is way harder than she thought it was going to be. Because I think it is way harder. And what's the long-term thing? I told them too, now you're a technician. I mean, what's the long term? You want to teach, you want to, if you're not working, you're not making money. And all you can do is, there's no, what's the long-term thing here? I
Yeah.
told my young girls, these staff that I talked to, I said, listen, you girls are great. You want to think big, buy this company from me. I'm not going to work forever. You guys can buy an active salon, think big. They didn't want to do that either. They're like, no, they like the
Yeah.
intrapreneur thing.
Yeah. And so some of the myths, I think we addressed one is that the owner's making all the money. Is that one that, okay.
Maybe I think with my staff, I I work with them in the trenches, which is a big thing. I work, like, when I take time off, they're like, you need to take time off. So there's a thing, who said the phrase, the person that's known as an early riser can sleep till noon. So I work with them, and they never, I haven't heard them say that, you're making all this money on us.
Okay.
But there was some education around that.
So we talked about, so the theme today was some recent conversations you had with team members,
Yeah.
and you identified which team members. They're ones that seem to be a potential threat. You
Right.
have really retelling the story, about the opportunity where they're at. And you've also done some of the math for them. You did the math on their earnings. You did the math on earnings per hour. So
The math part, Tom, I'll tell you, having this, my Chipotle menu worksheet with an accountant, to really have some real, like, this and what they're doing per hour, to really having the math. I spent a lot of time doing that. I spent a lot of time, and that really made what really this looks like. And can you maybe make more money? Maybe you can. But if you're working with an apprentice, it's hard. You have to work. The idea of working alone. So there might be people that are getting to a point where they're not working with an apprentice, getting that point where they're just getting really booked, but they're working alone. Maybe they could do that, but I still don't think they can make more because we give them, you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
And that's what I talked about too. Do you want to go this alone? And they're like hanging over the shampoo bowl, that's a grind.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of a question, maybe it's more of a question for you. Are you taking clients full time is what a question is?
I do. Yeah. I do
Okay.
clients 3 days a week. The fourth day is sometimes really busy. 3 days.
What other nuggets do you have for your peers here today in terms of these type of conversations? Clearly do the math, show
Right.
hourly, prepare, get your numbers in order. What other tips do you have having these 3 conversations?
I mean, really go in listening. Like the 3 people that I talk to, they're part of our educators. I see them all the time. I have lunch, I talk, we're busy, so we don't have a lot of time to sit down and talk. And I really learned a lot about what's important to them. What I thought is right, but even more so, I really learned a lot about them, going listening, and as a person get to know that, learning more about them. And my one person who's really active in Instagram, she said, my Instagram, I want to do it because I want to do I'm trying to recruit the fun people I want. The project, because we're, the extensions, the younger people, that's fun for them. Like we have tons of new business. Our salons are 98% booked, but we're giving them everybody, and they like to fill their books with, root colors, highlights, cuts with maybe some different kind of women, but they're young. They want to do young. So, which I never really thought of that angle. They're like their Instagram, because it helps them get kind of the fun part of the business. But there's not enough of that to fill their book. So it's a great, almost now we're collaborating. Your Instagram's feeding you what you want. I'm going to feed you everything else to fill your book. And that was a big awakening for me, their point of view, which I never thought of that.
Yeah. So I think that's listening. It's really being curious, getting to know them.
Yeah.
Be ready for a mind shift, because I think you had a bit of a mind shift that was about Instagram.
Yeah.
You saw increased Instagram being a sign they're leaving. They saw Instagram being a sign that, a way to get more clients that are people they want to work with. Am I hearing you right?
Exactly. Okay. And I think that's brilliant, because I'm still a hairdresser too. I mean, I like fun stuff too. There's some stuff you do which really pays well, root color, it's nice, it's fun, but doing a great young person with its fun, a little bit going on, it's great. You can't all day, that'll wear you out. Who wants projects all day long? It'll it's too much. But so they're getting fulfilled with the fun stuff and the young people, and it's fun. But then we're filling them with new clients all the time just to fill their book.
What's
it's
next?
Great.
How many more conversations are you going to have?
Right now, I think I'm kind of seeing what's going on. I think I've got a couple maybe that are getting to that next level, not with an apprentice yet. Just to say, hey, listen, here's what's next for you. What are you thinking? Getting these 3 main people identified was really, I'm sleeping better. I am sleeping better, because all the talk we're having about profits and budgeting, all that, if revenue's walking out the door, I mean, it doesn't help. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So peace of mind is a big outcome of this for you.
Giant.
So for those of you out that want more peace of mind, and you feel you're in a similar mindset to where James is and has been, these conversations can, what we refer to at Qnity as having to get closure.
Right. And I did say, Tom, I'm sorry. And I did at the end, I said, listen, if you do want to do this, like with you, solopreneur, it's a legitimate way to work. If you pay your taxes, no problem. I said, but if you do decide, I said, please do me the favor and the respect of sitting down and telling me, and let's do this the right way. I want to be able to come and see you. I mean, don't text me on Wednesday saying I'm never coming in again. Just do me that courtesy of respect. And please. And they said, absolutely. They don't think that's going to happen, but just asking for that, do this the right way. That also was the end of the conversation too.
Yeah, that's also that is something that I feel very strongly about. And in the course, in the money course for students, we actually have a lesson that's just talking about money.
Right.
We also have another one that really goes through a P&L. I'll actually show you some graphics in a
Yeah,
moment. And then also really talking about ethics and professionalism. And
absolutely.
yeah, and I don't know that that is something that necessarily has been taught to students, is professionalism, ethics, contracts, and because it's disheartening when someone that you've developed a relationship with, and every owner out there is going to agree with this. You got this relationship with this person, you get blindsided, and it just is very upsetting.
It
Um,
stings. I mean, it
it's
stings like it does.
but if someone would come very proactively and
Absolutely.
leave, amen. So, all
Yeah.
right. Well, James, listen, I appreciate your share today.
Good. I hope it's what you wanted. Like I said, it's all organic. My notes, it was just, came to mind. So I called you up and said, hey,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Well, I'd love to hear some more comments in the chat, and it's also a great opportunity to give James a shout out here. And James, I don't have you officially been on the roundtable before?
No, this is my first.
Well, what? Well, it's part of the reason is you work every other Wednesday. So,
Yeah, that's right.
anyway, let me officially award you the $1 million light bulb and welcome you to the Brain Trust. Let's
Excellent.
everybody give James a resounding virtual applause here.
Thanks.
Great job. You got some of your fans and friends out there giving you a shout out. So James, really, I so appreciate the call you made and the conversation. And it's really led me to, it's led me down a path of a more visual journey to displaying some of the things you're talking about. So
Oh,
a
good.
little, you'll see it at 2 to 10, and then those in the roundtable will see it after 2 to 10. So James, thanks so much. Okay.
Thanks for having me. I'm flattered that you asked me.
Of course. All right. So let's see what else we got for you guys here today. Oh, hi, Sam. How are you? All right, let's see here. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen. You know, entrepreneurship is we made up the word. I know you can't find it in the dictionary, so we made up the word entrepreneurship. And the reason we made it up is because it does very well describe the different paths in the workforce. You can be an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, and an entrepreneur. And so that is very much, Aaron and I are actually talk about that on the school roundtable. And then I'm going to be talking about that at 2 to 10. It's in the money course. And then this whole thing with understanding your paycheck. And, I had an insight this morning, and I love just having this forum where I can just talk to all of you and get some of your feedback and be real with each other. I had a realization. I think part of the challenge that I see is understanding a paycheck, but also understanding compensation, because there's certain parts of compensation that never reach your paycheck. So what I realized all along, I've been talking about understanding your paycheck, but I'm really talking about two different things. It's understanding your paycheck and understanding the full scope of your compensation, including tangible and non-tangible benefits, and including tax-related benefits. And now we have different lessons in the money course on that, understanding your compensation, and a separate one, understanding your paycheck. And I think it's important to distinguish between the two. And then here's another one. So in working with salon professionals since the mid 90s, man, that's been a long time. And really coming in the finance side, of course, I mean, I've been a financial educator for decades, and there's still a lot of misunderstanding once people get in the workforce about a P&L. And a P&L basically is money in minus money out. But to teach students a P&L, I think is really powerful. And to also teach students that most small businesses are only making 5 to 10 cents in the dollar. That's salons, that's spas, that's restaurants, that's fitness studios, that's grocery stores, and to break it down, money in versus money out. And then, but here's the kicker. And I want you to think about this for a moment. if you look at a P&L for an entrepreneur, I mean, it's pretty skinny. I mean, you get a paycheck and you really don't have many out-of-pocket expenses. I mean, a P&L for an entrepreneur from a line item standpoint is really, really short. You get a paycheck and you might have some out-of-pocket, period. So you don't have the complexity. You don't have P&L management. It's simple. And for those people that just want to do hair, awesome. You go to a solopreneur and now the P&L expands. Your money in becomes a little more complicated. All right. And then your money out. Now you have all these line items for money out, booking software, hair color, retail products, rent, self-employment taxes. And then if you become an entrepreneur, which is rare, a James Griffith, now what you have is you've got a P&L that looks like this. So it's basically looking at an expanding P&L based upon your role in the workforce, and really having people realize that a P&L is such basic financial literacy. But then to really break it down into entrepreneurship, I think is a very powerful thing. And that's one of the things I love about the course here, in terms of things we've covered. Now, money agreements, that also is a big one. And thank goodness we have a place where people can go to now to really understand money agreements, basic law. And there are verbal agreements, there's written agreements. What's a contract? What's an agreement and all that? And to put it into a 12-minute lesson is not easy, but you can cover a lot in 12 minutes. So anyway, just some other insights that really got me thinking when I talked to so many of you that are in a human capital crisis, and finding and recruiting staff today is so difficult, not just in the beauty industry, but all industries. So anyway, I love the conversation I had with James today. I keep talking about 2 to 10. For those of you that aren't going to 2 to 10, please, I want to also remind you, I'm not saying that necessarily from a FOMA standpoint, but saying there is going to be things that will be released at 2 to 10, be communicated at 2 to 10 that haven't been before. And my promises in upcoming roundtables, we'll be able to share that with you. Our money course is what's new, and we're thrilled to have this. And we are going to have a professional version of this money course. It teaches so many different things that goes into money success. Reminder also, we've got great coaches that are here to work with you. If you want to work with a coach, you can use this QR code to set up a free coaching session. I'll go through something called the gap analysis. And I'm seeing the clock today. We're going to end early, which I love. It's going to give you guys a little bit more time today to get on with your life. We aren't done yet today. We got a roundtable coming up at noon Central Time, and we will be back together October 13th. We are taking next week off. So closing thoughts is all progress starts when you tell the truth. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys today. If there's any other comments, I'll check out. We've got some, I've got to give shout out to who the heck's here today. So hold on. Who is with us today? Who do we have joining us? I almost took one person off the mic today to share a story, but we're going to save that for later. Amanda, Ann, Ashley, hello, all of you. Bonnie, Candace, Carrie, Christine, and Connie, and Dawn, and Jean, Jonathan, Karen, Carla, Kelly, Kevin, Laura, Leah, Leslie. Good morning, Linnell, Mark, Marcia, Melissa, Melody, Michelle, Mike. Hello, Nicole. Hi, Nina, Sam, Sandra, Terry, and Trent. What a great group. Thanks for showing up today. What do they say? Half a life is just showing up, right? Thanks for taking the time with us. Some of you we will see this weekend, and some of you we will see in New York the weekend after, and some of you we hope to see all together in 2 weeks when we're back together for the next roundtable. Thanks for joining us today, guys, and thanks to James for being our guest, and have a great, prosperous week. Bye.